Spotlight is back on the suspicious death of Ellen Greenberg. The 27-year-old school teacher was found dead inside of her apartment, stabbed some 20 times. Yet the medical examiner ruled it a suicide after first saying it was a homicide, changed it to suicide. Well, now a new docuseries on Hulu being released today is bringing the case to a wider audience. It's called Death in Apartment 603. What happened to Ellen Greenberg? Let's watch some of the trailer.
So many errors happened in this case. You don't have investigation. You don't have a held crime scene.
That's not right. Does the evidence match the story that we're hearing? Pretty much all of that is negative. It is our responsibility to Ellen to find out the truth.
If you want to get away with a homicide, have it declared a suicide.
Death in Apartment 603. What happened to Ellen Greenberg? Only on Hulu.
Now, Ellen Greenberg's fiance, Sam Goldberg, is who reportedly discovered her back in 2011. The two of them shared an apartment. He said he had left her alone to go work out and claimed that he had to bust into the apartment, break the door down because he said it was locked from the inside. At first, he claimed that a building super had helped him get in, and then turned out that was untrue. There was no building super with him when he went in. And the medical examiner who changed the cause of death from homicide to suicide said that part of that was the reliance on the idea that she was the only one in the apartment at the time. Now, Ellen Greenberg's fiance, Sam Goldberg, has never been charged in connection to her death. So I want to be very clear. Mr. Goldberg has never been charged. He told 911 that she may have fallen on the knife. Yeah, told the 911 dispatcher that. Also said that she may have stabbed herself. But her wounds, there were 20 of them, 10 of them to the back of her head, and the back of her neck, and the top of her head. There was a 10-inch knife lodged in her chest. And there's also some information that 2 knives may have been used in this terrible event. Now, after the cause of death had been changed to suicide, her parents fought for a long time. They sued the city of Philadelphia. And then in February of this year, you may recall us here at Court TV reporting that the ME changed the ruling from suicide to now something other than suicide, which isn't one of the 5 manners of death: homicide, suicide, accident, undetermined, and natural. Other than suicide isn't one of them. So what does that even mean? And what's going to happen on October 14th when this case has been reopened? It's wide open now. And there's an upcoming hearing on the 14th of October to get the status of things. Let's bring in our legal eagles, Mario Gallucci and Rick Grundy. There's so much to talk about here. Rick, let me start with you. To me, this case stinks to high heaven, just absolutely stinks to high heaven. And this young lady also had bruises all over different parts of her body in various stages of healing at the time of her autopsy, suggesting that, oh, perhaps she had been the victim of repeated beatings. Rick, I'm curious if you see perhaps signs of domestic violence going on here.
I'm sorry, Julie, I may have missed some of that. I was busy working on an application for an arrest of this gentleman in this case. You know, this is a situation where one of the most troubling things about this is that it happened in 2011. And I, in my prior life as a head of a homicide unit, looked at cases from 30, 40 years ago, and this kind of thing was happening all the time, particularly in matters of domestic violence, where they were just, for whatever reason, just, it was obvious, it was in your face, and they were swept under the rug. So this is still occurring in 2011. You've got some investigators and you've got a medical examiner out there that they got some questions that they need to answer. Hopefully the medical examiner is no longer in the position, although what you just said sounds like somebody trying to cover themselves still, as opposed to letting the truth fully out that this was clearly a homicide. I mean, this is a bad joke. 20 stab wounds, suicide, okay? It stinks to the high heavens.
Bingo was his name. Yes, Rick Grundy. Mario Gallucci, let me throw another fact at you. Apparently, somebody, don't have a name, but hopefully we'll get a name, somebody ordered that scene to be professionally cleaned up, said it was okay, we're going to release the scene and let somebody come on in immediately before that scene was processed and the evidence was gathered. Your thoughts on that fact?
Why would they do that? I mean, this is, whether it's a suicide or a homicide, you still want to investigate a crime scene. You still want to see what's out there, if there's any DNA. And how do you stab, like you said in your opening statement, Julie, how do you stab yourself 20 times? Some of them to the back of your head, some of that, it was virtually impossible. Any officer that walked into that crime scene knows that that would have been virtually impossible to happen. So you have to close that crime scene down. You have to start interviewing witnesses. I mean, did they recover any DNA from the nights? I mean, did they recover any DNA from inside the house? The door was locked from the inside, but the only one reporting that was the fiance. The landlord said that that door could lock by itself. So there's a lot going on here that was never investigated. I'd like to know why they did what they did in this case. Just like Rick said, I have a lot of questions on why this investigation went the way it went. It's very troubling, especially in 2011.
It is. It's a great word for it, Mario. Very troubling. This is the kind of case that, my gosh, anybody involved with it should be losing sleep over this because of the way this was clearly not handled properly. Another thing that I find very, very troubling is this gentleman's reaction to the 911 dispatcher. So his reaction is that she either accidentally fell on this knife or she stabbed herself. His words, not mine. He says, oh my God, she stabbed herself. She fell on a knife. I don't know. Her knife is sticking out. So this was sticking out of her heart, he says on the call. Now, if you find your loved one in a bloody mess with stab wounds to the front and the back of their body, is your inclination going to be, oh, they must have done this to themselves? Or they fell on it? I mean, she's got a wound to the top of her head. She fell on that knife? Rick Grundy, your thoughts on fiance's reaction?
So if, in fact, his story had any truth to it, he would be suspecting that this was a suicide based on some mental health issues that he would either did or would say he had knowledge of prior to. So the mechanism of the death would be secondary to the cause being the mental illness, and he doesn't go into any of that. So that's another red flag. And unfortunately, in my experience in these cases, I think if you, in this matter, peel away those top layers of the onion, you're going to see that this individual, based on who he is, who his family is, where he works, whom he works with, whatever the connection is going to have some undue sway in how this was investigated or not investigated. I also want to check to see if Lieutenant John Proctor has any powers in New York.
Mario, let me ask you something. Rich just said something about wondering about connections here. I'm so curious, and we just have a little bit of time here. When I see this, I just wonder, did this fiance have some juice? I have no idea. I didn't practice in Philadelphia County. I was across the state in Allegheny County. That's where I practiced. But I just have to wonder, you think there might have been some juice there?
So I actually tried a case in Philadelphia 100 years ago. There's got to be some connection. I don't understand how somebody is stabbed 20 times and there's no crime scene, and as the exact opposite. So yeah, absolutely a connection somewhere.
Exactly. Boy, I wish I could keep talking to you both. I love conversation with you two. Mario Gallucci, Rick Grundy, thank you both so much. You guys have cases to win. We got to let you get off to court. We'll see you soon.